Aurora and Denver's mayors say this video playing on a loop on cable news is creating hysteria about a Venezuelan gang. They sit down with Next together.
I think the problem is just an incredible exaggeration.
But I think the much bigger risk is that you'll have a perception that all of the newcomers in the city are dangerous.
A compromise at the Capitol. Coloradans get a small property tax cut. A deeper cut comes off the ballot. Denver's migrant fund has extra money in it. The mayor says that can now go back to other areas. And apparently August is not too early to think about snow plowing season.
It just creeps up on you. You wake up one morning, you got a blanket of snow.
The plow drivers are ready. The rest of us can hold on to the end of summer, because this is Next. Racist hate disguised as street-side signs went up in Denver overnight and were quickly pulled down this morning. The mayor tells us it's a small number of people trying to cause chaos. He says the city will use surveillance video to prosecute them. RTD says its bus drivers first spotted those signs targeting migrants and Vice President Kamala Harris along Colfax from Colorado to Yosemite. RTD says similar signs were posted in Chicago, and RTD said they're working with other transit agencies to, quote, assess the magnitude of the coordinated racist activity. Democratic state legislators condemn those signs.
These types of white nationalist statements have no place here in Colorado. No place here in Colorado. And I know in my heart that people on both sides of the aisle agree with that. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This is about standing united against hatred.
Denver police have said they're investigating what happened with those signs. Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman says people at 2 or 3 apartment buildings in his city are being intimidated by a gang. Kaufman says Aurora police are handling the situation and making arrests. Aurora police have been working to root out a gang from Venezuela while calling that gang's activity isolated. A former tenant provided us with video of people carrying guns inside an apartment complex at 12th and Dallas in Aurora on August 18th. Police have not said if this video, which they've had for days, shows members of that Venezuelan gang. The video has received tremendous attention, primarily from Fox News and other conservative media. Denver's and Aurora's leaders have said for weeks that the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua is here and that their police departments are working to determine the extent of their operations. Today, after 24 hours of intense national media coverage, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman and Denver Mayor Mike Johnson, who come from different sides of the political aisle, were united in telling us that exaggerated and inaccurate news coverage is creating new risks and problems while they try to deal with this gang. I want to ask you about that video that's being played nonstop some places. Correct to say that Aurora police have had that video as part of their investigation into gang activity for more than a week now, that's right?
That's correct.
But you have not yet determined if the men in that video are part of the TDA gang?
That's correct.
That's correct.
I think you see that video over and over again and you feel like, oh my gosh, every newcomer to the city must be a part of Tren de Aragua and I should report them or call 911 or call 311 or, heaven forbid, take law into my own hands. That is not needed in any way. We have one of the best trained police forces in the country who knows how to do strategic operations, knows how to do gang prevention. We are on this at every single moment.
It's overwhelming our 911 system, our emergency call center, and so it's actually hurting our ability to respond to crime, and so I would hope people would not do that. I think we're in some sort of environment of hysteria right now over this. It's a real issue. It's being dealt with. It's isolated.
Some of your fellow Republicans in city leadership say that you're not telling the truth, that you're covering this up, that Aurora police are covering it up, that Denver police are covering it up. What do you say directly to that concern?
Well, they've been conflating it with every issue where there's Venezuelans who gather together. There was an issue several Sundays ago where, in anticipation of the election returns in Venezuela, there was some social media platforms that said let's do a meetup at this location in Aurora, and yeah, it was poorly organized. It wasn't organized, and it had some detrimental effects, and they somehow conflate that with gang activity.
Mayor Johnson, what are Denver police telling you about the scope of the threat posed by this one criminal organization, TDA, versus all of the criminal organizations operating in the metro area?
It's very small, the threat from TDA in Denver. It's smaller than many other organized criminal networks that might have been here for decades, the ones you know like the Bloods or the Crips or others. And so we're monitoring it closely. We're going to make sure they don't get a foothold. Where we know we can intervene, we can. But Mayor Kaufman's really right. The risk on this is the folks most likely to be taken advantage of and abused by this are other newcomers, are Venezuelans who have arrived and are being bullied by these individuals and feel afraid to call the police or call the city. city. We want to make very clear, if you have the least bit of concern, call 311, call 911. We do not ask for your citizenship or your status. You're at no risk of adverse action.
We want to work to earn their trust, to have their confidence, to step forward and identify who the bad actors are.
So I think both sides are in for a new awakening. The folks that came here looking for the American dream will find it. Those folks who came here looking to cause chaos, I think will find that this is their worst nightmare, because we're not going to tolerate that in this city.
You can see my full unedited conversation with Mayor Kaufman and Mayor Johnston on the next YouTube channel and on the next section of 9news.com. Democrats didn't like it. Republicans wanted far, far more, but I bet more than a few of each are going to take credit in the future for what happened today, a compromise on property taxes, because the deal approved by the state legislature will mean about $255 million in tax cuts on top of a $1 billion tax cut passed earlier this year. More significantly, it also adds new caps on how much tax revenue local governments can bring in annually. In return, conservative groups have agreed to pull 2 ballot measures off that would have resulted, if they passed, in much deeper tax cuts. Some Democrats thought they shouldn't give an inch because the voters are with them this year. Some Republicans thought they shouldn't risk anything less than the whole thing. But they all agreed on a small tax cut instead.
We obviously knew that there was a risk that they might not pass. They might pass, they might not. Should we, really risk the fact that people could get no relief at all? Or should the legislature come in and deal with it and not get everything that we wanted, but make significant progress when it comes to relief? We were all struggling with this 30-40% increase in property taxes. To make sure that didn't happen ever again, we needed a cap in place. And so we do think it's significant relief.
The conservative groups have agreed that they will hold off on any new property tax ballot initiatives for 6 years, so long as leaders at the Capitol don't take apart today's deal. So the city of Denver does not plan to spend all of the money it set aside to help migrants this year. And today, the mayor told our Evan Krugel that means the migrant fund, instead of pulling money from other parts of the budget, will be able to pay some back.
You think about parole, you think about benefits.
The thought of planning a city budget
infrastructure
can keep even the smartest minds up at night.
I don't envy planning budgets because we don't have a crystal ball.
MSU professor Alexandra Padilla says even the best planned out budgets can come crashing down. Something Denver dealt with last year when an influx of migrants led the mayor to announce roughly $90 million in budget cuts to help cover the crisis.
They did not predict this. They faced themselves with an emergency that was difficult to predict. And it becomes very, very difficult to help those people because money does not grow on trees.
That uncertainty, combined with lower than anticipated revenue this year, has Denver's finance department warning more cuts should be expected next year.
We asked everyone to submit something at about 5%.
But Mayor Mike Johnston says there is some good news when it comes to the budget, thanks in part to Denver's recent decision to scale back services for migrants.
We've been able to dramatically undercut our expenditures this year on migrants, so we thought we might have to spend $180 million. We'll be much closer to 50 or 60. We think we can go far lower next year. So we think actually this year we think the budget we had set aside for migrants will actually be able to pull to support other city agencies. And so where a year ago we might have had to pull from other agencies to support migrants, this year it'll be the reverse. Our migrant program will itself be backfilling funding for things like police, fire, parks, trash infrastructure, all of those.
Now, how much money will be left and where that leftover money will go remains a big question. The mayor's office stresses it is only August and a lot can change before the end of the year. Kyle?
This business about the migrant money being able to be pushed back into other buckets, that's new.
Brand new today. He actually hasn't told City Council yet. Those discussions will likely happen here in the next few weeks. September 15th is when that first draft of the budget comes in. That's when we should learn a lot more about exactly what that dollar amount is and where exactly it's going.
Yeah, it seems that City Council does not like surprises, but they do like good news. So maybe this one's a wash, right? Evan, thank you.
A win-win.
Yeah. There's a former school board president out in Rifle who lost his seat months after he tried to bring in a controversial set of conservative social studies standards. Garfield RE2 board president Tony May has faced criticism from the community since last year when he tried and failed to get the district to adopt American birthright. It's a classroom standard that promotes patriotism and Christianity and American exceptionalism. There are some parents and teachers and staff who said that they worried that those standards would exclude students of color and LGBTQ kids. They also criticized Superintendent May for his quote-unquote strong-arming of the board into following his agenda. May and his allies said the recall was disrespectful and it was politics.
We're not trying to bring extreme politics either way. The goal was to get them out. You can't strong arm what your personal agenda is into the boardroom and treat people poorly and belittle people and expect them to be like, oh yeah, let's just go ahead and do it.
So with the recall, Garfield County voters elected a guy named Scott Bolitho. He's a former RE2 parent. His campaign website said that the education system should, quote, not be driven by a political agenda when setting policy. We reached out to May and the district, didn't hear back.
These violent criminals are getting out at less than half of their sentence.
Remember that guy? He's the one who had the tax measures on the ballot. Well, he's got another idea, trying to get a criminal justice reform passed that Republicans couldn't get through the Capitol. And disregard those temperatures nearing 90 because, you know what? Almost time to fire up those suckers for the season. Drivers were out working on their skills. That's next. Stop me if you've heard this one before. So Republicans at the Capitol tried to pass a bill. This one would make people convicted of violent crimes stay in prison longer. They want some to serve more of their prison sentences before they're eligible for parole. Democrats voted it down. So now Republicans are putting it on the ballot in November for voters to decide. Here's Kelly Rinke.
When someone is found guilty of a crime, many times they can get out of prison early. For some violent crimes, a person can be eligible for parole after serving 75% of their sentence, even earlier for good behavior. Voters in November could change that.
I think people are really shocked and appalled when they understand that because of earned time, good time, the parole board, these violent criminals are getting out at less than half of their sentence.
Advance Colorado, a conservative advocacy group, is behind ballot initiative 112. It would require a person convicted of certain crimes like murder and sexual assault to spend at least 85% of their sentence, not 75%, before being eligible for parole. The measure also prevents someone from receiving earned time until then.
And so there's many stories about people getting out early, reoffending.
Whether or not this would deter crime depends on who you ask.
We have seen throughout American history that increasing penalties on crimes has not deterred crime.
Colorado Criminal Justice Reform Coalition also worries this gives prisoners no incentive to try to rehabilitate.
This ballot measure just eliminates a tool that DOC has to help individuals get back on their feet.
Longer sentences means more people in prison and more spending from the state. Analysts at the state capitol estimate this could increase costs by up to $28 million per year.
I think it's definitely worth that money to keep violent criminals in jail longer than they're getting out right now at an average of 46% of their sentence.
The idea failed in the state legislature when Republican lawmakers introduced it earlier this year. Now it's up to voters.
112 is an attempt to fix a problem that doesn't exist.
So this initiative would impact people who commit crimes after July of 2025. And because we're talking about sentences that are more than 20 years for these crimes, we actually wouldn't see the impacts of this until the mid-2040s, Kyle.
This is going to be important. People are going to have questions on it leading up to November. I'm sure it's not the last time we'll talk about it. Kelly, thank you. Another issue you will decide in November, whether to change the state's voting system once again. Under this idea, most of Colorado's primary elections, candidates from all parties would run against each other. Then there would be ranked choice voting in the general election. So people could pick 2 Republicans or 2 Democrats to run against each other in the general. This idea comes from former DaVita CEO Kent Thiry. He's a wealthy dude, and he's used that money to run initiatives changing how Colorado's elections work. In June, Democrats tried to head this off, passing a bill to prevent the switch to ranked choice voting in the near future. The governor signed the bill but said the state will work to implement the will of voters no matter what it is in November. Right now, only a handful of cities and towns in Colorado use that ranked choice voting. Let's turn to meteorologist Kathy Sabin for a look ahead at the weather.
Yesterday, 92 degrees. An overnight cool front brought temperatures down into the comfortable lower 80s, but we're tracking isolated showers, and there's a big football game in Boulder tonight, and there's the chance of a few sprinkles at kickoff with temperatures close to 80. Halftime, partly cloudy and 72, and hopefully by the fourth quarter, it'll be clear with the wind at 66 degrees. Beautiful blue skies as the evening drive is well underway. We're down to 80 degrees after a high of about 86 today. Winds finally letting up, coming in pretty ferocious out of the east this afternoon. We're tracking isolated showers early ahead of a warm, dry Friday and really a good-looking holiday weekend forecast. Storms to the south, isolated storms over the I-70 corridor. Denver dry. We have a few little sprinkles moving to Littleton and Lakewood, but they have moved out of the area, and that should be the trend for the rest of this evening with the heavier rain showers along the Colorado-New Mexico line. After that, we get some clearing skies, a bit of maybe low clouds clouds and fog out on the far eastern plains. And tomorrow, there's the chance of a shower in Jefferson County and in some of the foothill areas like Evergreen and Idaho Springs. Comfortable evening for dinner on the patio with temperatures in the 70s. And we're looking at upper 80s tomorrow, 90 on Saturday. I've got Labor Day warm and dry at 91 degrees with a string of beautiful days heading into the first part of next week.
No, this isn't easy.
Yeah, I've always imagined that snow plowing would be kind of a high pressure, tough job. Even tougher, you know, when there's no snow. That is not stopping drivers from getting out there, getting ready for the winter. That's next. The way people drive, there's no way I'd want most of them to drive around with an enormous blade on the front of their vehicle. But that's how much trust we have in snowplow drivers, to wield that huge power and that huge plower carefully. So probably a good thing that they're out practicing as early as, well, right about now.
All right, let's cruise through it.
Today is an event we call the Snow Rodeo. We have it every year.
And basically that's what we do this time of the year, get ready for snow season. Are you ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
It's kind of team building, seeing everybody's skill set.
There we go. Good. I've been doing this for 35 years. For 35 years. Ever since we've had it, I've been a part of it.
My parents used to work for the city. They both did snow removal. They both did snow rodeo.
Well, it just works on your skills, you know, like maneuvering, how to handle the vehicle.
Everybody gets to know each other. Everybody gets to compete against each other.
So when we go through the obstacles, it's letting them know that this could be a car you go in between.
One of your obstacles may be a street light, one of maybe a street sign, you know, so you have to be able to control that piece of machinery while doing the job.
Because, you know, you don't want anyone to be hurt or anything like that, you know.
We have the same goals. We all have families. We all want everyone to get to where they need to be, and just be patient with us while we're out there doing it. It's not an easy job, and we do the best that we can and try to do it in a very timely manner.
Got it. Because it just creeps up on you. You wake up one morning, you got a blanket of snow. Nice. So, but it'll be down here soon. It should be some here next month. It can happen at any time.
I love his attitude. His attitude is great. Marilyn, thank you very much. We have some feedback, including some that I saw by email that I actually just got given in my ear. That's next. Feedback from LS on Threads tonight says, recording the show now because, well, the CU game, the football game. Caught the first 5 minutes, though. Glad the rest of that interview with the mayors is on YouTube. Yeah, remember, you can always find our Newsmaker interviews in full there on the next YouTube channel, and that's also where you can find our full shows. If you missed something, you want to catch it, you want to share it with a friend to say, hey, look, there's something new in the news. Not really new. We've been around for 8 years. Janet writes to say, please slow down. You are speaking faster than I can listen. Thank you. That is a known glitch in my programming, Janet. Every now and then it happens, and in fact, tonight, our producer Mallory got in my ear and said, slow down, you're talking too fast. Then you emailed and said, slow down, you're talking too fast. Mike writes in to say, may Kyle Clark be tried for crimes against humanity. There are some angry, angry people out there. Just remember, they're loud, but they're outnumbered.